Hello everyone, welcome to iExamB. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic on GST. So last month, at the beginning of in fact this month, July, the GST Council, the 47th Council had happened and the government had come out with certain changes. There were a lot of news articles, discussions about why the government has been increasing the GST rates on certain products which were initially in a lower slab rate, or they were initially exempted. Then why are we increasing the GST when the country is already suffering from higher inflation and lower growth estimates? So in this wake, there is a lot of discussion, lot of news articles that happen. So in this today's session, my aim will be to help you understand the structure of GST, how basically it was implemented and is being executed, what is the role of the center and the states here, and what are some of the latest changes that have come in which led to a discussion happening. Okay. Please participate. I will be starting with a few series of questions, and if you are able to answer these questions, you will understand the entire discussion and rationale behind the steps that have been taken. So please do participate. Write your answers in the comments box about the questions that I am showcasing. These will also be helpful for your preparation of various exams, the upcoming NABARD exam, RBI exam, SEBI exam if you're preparing for the coming sessions, and definitely in your NABARD exam upcoming, SEBI exam IT, because paper 1 will have financial awareness aspect in it. So this will be very, very important for all your competitive exam. First, a very, very, very simple question. When did GST, the goods and services tax, come into effect in our country? So was it the 1st of January 2017, was it 26th of January 2017, our Republic Day, or the 1st April 2017, or 1st July 2017, or the 15th of August 2017? So majority of you would be knowing that it came in 2017, but which date did it become effective from? Okay, so Vijay, yes, you are correct. It was 1st of July 2017, and actually the 47th Council, GST Council meet that happened took that decision this year, which comes into effect from actually 18th of July from this year. So GST was actually brought as a bill by amending the constitution, and it was the 122nd amendment made to the constitution. It was presented in 2016 in the parliament, and then it was cleared and became effective from the 1st of July 2017. So the GST Council, as I have been mentioning, they are the one who take the decision. In addition to this particular question, you may also write down who heads the GST Council in India. So the GST Council is basically responsible for taking decisions related to the GST, the goods and the services tax, right? So it is a constitutional body, and it has been made under the article, which article of the constitution? So yes, Aniket, you are also right. Vijay, both of you are right that it was from the 1st of July 2017. My next question relates to the GST Council. GST Council came or was formed as per which article of the constitution? So they are responsible for taking the decisions. Vijay, yes, absolutely right that the finance minister heads the GST Council. But which article was it that led to the formation of the GST Council? No, Vijay, it is not it's not Article 280. The Article 280 is also very, very important. Think about it. There was the question in RBI in 2019, if I am not wrong, in 2019, I think it was there. About 280 article. So it's also very, very important article, and very important body was formed under the Article 280, but it is not GST Council. Okay, so the correct answer, Soumya Ranjan Sahu, yes, that is correct. It is 279A actually, which led to the formation of the GST Council. 280 is actually related to the Finance Commission. Okay, so GST Council was formed under Article 279A1 by amending the Constitution, the 122nd amendment that was made to the Constitution. So Aniket, yes, correct. So Abhiranjan, you are correct. Next question relates to that the GST implementation, when in 2017 there was a lot of debate, and it's not that 2017 or 2016 was the only year about discussion of GST. The discussion about GST moving from various taxes to the GST, one single tax in the entire country, had been discussed over a lot of years, and this was because there were discussions between the states and the center, how their revenue will be distributed and shared, because the states should not lose. There are so many expenses which states have to make on their own, so they need their own revenue streams. So when this GST was implemented in 2017, the government had promised that the states will not be at a loss, because the government, the center will compensate them for the loss of revenue due to the introduction of GST. But it is not for an indefinite period. So for how long had they stated that they will compensate the states for the loss of revenue due to GST? Okay, so yes, Aniket, your answer about the finance minister heading the GST Council is correct. Okay, so here the answer is 5 years. So actually this year in 2022, these 5 years have now ended. Okay, so the government had promised that whatever loss of revenue which the states may have because of movement from the various state taxes that were subsumed by GST, उसके बेसिस पे जो भी स्टेट्स को इंडिविजुअली नुकसान हो सकता है, उसके लिए सेंट्रल आपको जीएसटी में से कॉम्पेंसेट करेगी, एक जीएसटी सेस के बेस पे आपको कॉम्पेंसेशन मिलेगा, एंड दिस वाज फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ 5 years. Another question before I move and show you the detailed reply, you may write in the comments box again, I will wait for that, is how much are they going to compensate? Because if it is a period of 5 years, that as you all are mentioning correctly, Debashish and Style and Net, that is correct, it is for 5 years. But was it the same amount or is there a growth? So the government had said that it will be assumed that your GST, or sorry, your tax revenue would have grown at a certain percentage over the year. So that was kept into mind, that this will be taken into account with a growth of so and so over these 5 years, will be taken into account to calculate the amount of revenue that the states would have lost. So what is that percentage growth that was assumed? Any of you are aware? Debashish or Aniket or Vijay, Soumya Ranjan? Okay, so that percentage of growth that was assumed was 14%. 14% year on year growth. So this, like you can see here, this 14% year on year growth was assumed that there will be there while calculating the loss of revenue. So it was not like how much it will be. It will be 14% year on year, and on a base year was 2015-16, because from 2017 it got implemented, right? So for 5 years this compensation was there. So Debashish, yes, you are correct. Vijay, it is not 4, it is 14%. Okay, next question relates to that under the GST, what is the tax structure phenomena called in which the rate of GST tax on inputs purchased is more than the rate of GST tax on outward supplies? Is it known as the reverse duty structure, the inverted duty structure, the multiple duty structure, the composite duty structure, or the opposite duty structure? Okay, so here we are saying that GST is implemented on a lot of commodities, all the goods and services, but certain goods may be actually an input. That means they may be the raw material for another product. Say for example, milk. Milk is an input for making, say, curd. Okay, curd या फिर say paneer, right? So that becomes the input. So what is that phenomena in GST called, where say for example your GST tax rate on milk is higher than your GST tax rate on the final product, which is say paneer or curd? Okay, so Prashant, no, it is not composite, it is not multiple. Devashish, no, it is not A also. So I guess now you all will know. It is actually known as the inverted duty structure, and I will explain you that is one reasoning that the government has given in terms of the GST rates being increased, however they not having much impact overall on the final taxation which the customer will have to pay, right? So inverted duty structure, as I told you, as I'm explaining you, again in this what happens is the input, because many times certain products or commodities or goods, they also require certain inputs which may have they may also be subject on a standalone basis to GST rate, right? So the example that I gave you was of milk and say paneer, right? So say for example, as of now these are different rates, but say for example the milk is being taxed at 12% GST and your paneer is being taxed at say 5% GST. Okay, these are hypothetical, I am saying these are not the actual rates right now. So say if milk is being taxed at 12% and paneer is being taxed at GST, so it is inverted, because in this case, in this I have already paid a higher GST tax rate on my input, which is milk in this case for paneer, while my final product is being taxed at a lower rate. Okay, so this is known as a inverted duty structure. Reverse duty structure is something else. If anybody is aware, write in the comments box, otherwise I will tell in the end what we mean by reverse duty structure. And multiple and composite are not really duty structures, they are associated with supplies. Which kind of a supply can be there? Therefore what GST will be applicable when 2 or 3 different GST tax slab service or goods are combined together and provided to you at one rate, right? So in that case, which GST will apply if you are making a combination of 2 or 3 products which fall into different GST tax slabs, right? So multiple and composite has to relate to that, right? And then opposite duty structure does not exist. So these terminologies are still applicable. Reverse, if you can write in the comments, I will answer that towards the end, what reverse duty structure means. Okay. And the last question before I discuss some important points about this news today is the interstate supplies. Great, Tarun, that is nice. So if you all are able to recall what you read in the newspaper and understand those terminologies, that is the best way to be preparing for any competitive exams. Okay, right. So next question. Interstate supplies of taxable goods and services are subject to which type of GST? So Vijay, in that case, No, they are not allowed for refund. They, however, you will get input tax credit, right? So if you have paid GST on inputs, you get compensation and adjustment for adjustments are definitely made for the inputs that you have used in your final raw material. So that is known as the input tax credit. You claim the tax you have already paid on the inputs. Okay. Okay, so Vijay says D. Anybody else? CGST, SGST, UTGST, IGST. Yes, so all of you are correct. It is IGST, which stands for, what is the full form of IGST? Full form of IGST. So CGST stands for central, SGST stands for state GST, UT and SGST are basically similar. States word is used when it is states, UT or union territories is the terminology when it is used when we are talking about union territories like say Delhi or Puducherry, and IGST is your integrated, where both the states and the center have a share, and there is a distribution or sharing of the GST collection between the states. So when you are reading in newspapers, say in the month this much collection has happened of overall GST, say for example 1.3 lakh crores of GST has been collected, then it will always mention how much was CGST out of that, SGST out of that, and IGST out of that, and it will always also be followed by the information from this IGST how much was given to states as SGST and how much was given to the center as CGST. So that is the tax sharing that happens because of the interstate, right? Because the movement is happening between two states, then one state alone cannot claim the GST for that, and therefore the sharing happens between the center and the states for that happens. Another question now that I have is, I was talking about the compensation for the loss of revenue which the government has given to the states. So is this given from IGST? Is it given from IGST or is it given from somewhere else or from the budget, or how? So okay, so Vijay, yes, it is integrated. Nikhil, no, it is not intermediate, it is integrated GST. Integrated because it is integrating the central and the state's share. Okay, yeah, so Vijay, that is correct. No, it's not. This compensation is extra. The government has a GST cess through which it collects and gives to the states, and it is not a part of the IGST. That is the claim of the states already. Okay, so yes, D is the correct answer. So now let's come to the news. The 1st of July 2022 marked the completion of 5 years of implementation of the GST, and the 47th council meet took place, where certain key decisions the government had come out in relation to GST. A lot of the most highlighted decisions that came out in this council were: one, there were a lot of goods whose tax rate slabs have been changed. Some with a lower tax rate have now moved up to a higher tax bracket, and some of them which were initially exempted have also, their exemption has been moved away, and now they are under the tax bracket scenario. And another very important was this point: no extension of compensation to the states. This point, right? So a lot of states has actually asked, almost 12 states were there which had asked the government to extend the compensation beyond 5 years. And the reason they had asked for this compensation to be extended was that they lost a lot during the COVID times, and the state finances need to be supported further. So this was a contention, and I'm sure now it will make sense to you why I'm talking about compensation. So this compensation was supposed to be given to the states, which has for 5 years and which has ended, and the government has said, no, we will not be giving you compensation anymore. These are the rates that now, these are your incomes under GST, and you have to accordingly make decisions, accordingly make your budgets, keeping these things in mind. There will be no further compensation. Any questions related to how this compensation was worked out, and why is it important for the states governments to know that there is no more going to be a compensation here? Okay, so let me connect here with another news, not very directly related to the aspect, but see, now if the state government's compensation goes away, right, and if the certain states had been working their budgets on the assumption that the government will extend their compensation, now basically their estimates for the revenue go down. Okay, and in case they had estimated a higher revenue and planned their expenses accordingly, the gap between their revenue and the expenses start going up. Okay, and some of our states are already in a dire position. They are not aware at not really dire position, I will say, but at alarms position, where their debt to GDP of the state GDP, not the center or the country's GDP, but the state GDP, they have been on a higher side. And these points have been actually highlighted by RBI in its last monthly bulletin. Okay, so there was an article by RBI where they had talked about the state finances, and the alarming positions of some of the states where their expenses had been on a higher side, and the state government had been borrowing to meet those expenses, and these expenses are mostly unproductive, or they are short term in nature, with a lot of freebies that have been given by the states to the population, which will ultimately, going forward, will create a lot of problem, because if there's not equivalent production increase, or the growth, basically the income growth that happens consequently because of the expenses that the states are doing today, then it will have long-term repercussions. So that was there. So it's not directly related to the GST news, but I'm just highlighting that any revenue estimates, if any of the state governments had actually taken into account that this compensation will be extended, then they will have to rework their budget estimates. Okay, so that is there. So that was another important thing that you have to understand. And the another point that the GST Council has been talking from a lot of months has been about rationalizing the GST rates. Now what that means is, as of now let's understand what the broad structure of GST in the country is. So we have 4, or rather 3, not really 4, because these two are similar in nature. Just because of the terminology of state or union territory, they become different. So these are the 3 types of GST that are implemented on goods. First being your central GST, which the central government levies and collects directly. Then there is state level or union territory level, which relates to the intra-state supply. So any movement or goods or services which are being supplied within the state itself, say for example, if it is in the state of Maharashtra only, okay, the supplier and the buyer, the consumer and the producer, are both in the same state. In that case, the state GST is applied. In case of interstate, where 2-3 states are there, say from Delhi and Mumbai, okay, so they belong in different states or different union territory and states. In that case, the integrated GST is applied and collected. This distinction is important for sharing of GST between the different governments of the state and the central. From your point of view, you have to pay tax as per the tax slabs, right? So when this GST was introduced, there were a lot of taxes that were subsumed or that were taken over by GST. So they stopped existing in on a standalone basis. So these were both at the center level and at the state level. So the state level, this is how the states started losing revenue for which they were being compensated. So the center, some of the important center taxes that were subsumed were the central excise duty, the service tax, the excise duty under Medicinal and Toilet Preparation Act, the CVD and special CVD countervailing duty, basically CVD stands for countervailing duties, the central sales tax, and the central surcharges and cess that were applicable on these various taxes. Some of the important state taxes that were subsumed were the state surcharges and cess on the various supply of goods and services, the entertainment tax except for the one that is levied by local bodies, the tax on lottery, betting, gambling, entry tax from all forms, purchase tax, VAT and sales tax, value added tax that was there, luxury tax, taxes on advertisements. So these were some of the major taxes that were subsumed by the GST structure, and in its place we had the GST under 4 slabs, right? I am not, so some may say there are 5, there is 0% also, or the exemption limit, exemption category. So I am not talking about the exemption category here, I am talking about the other GST tax slabs that exist. So there are 4, 5%, 12%, 3%, and 28%. So these are some of the examples. This is not an exhaustive list of products that are taxed under this state, and some of these have now started moving or gone to this bracket, right? But we have 4 tax slabs. So when in this news I am talking about the government, ministers, the group of ministers that had been formed by the GST Council for rate rationalization. So for almost a year now, there have been talks and discussions being done in terms of these 4 tax slabs being rationalized, that we reduce the 4 tax slabs and we start moving towards, if not a single tax rate, but at least not 4. We move to say a 3 tax structure where there is an exemption limit and there is a highest tax slab, and there were talks of, say, merging these 2 tax slabs, right? So such kind of discussions have been happening, suggestions have come, however nothing has been implemented. But this is what we mean by rationalization of the tax slabs under GST. So a group of ministers had been formed to study this and come out with their recommendation. So they have been given another 3 months extension because nothing concrete has still yet come out of this. Okay, so that is what is being talked about, and these are the new tax GST rates that have been hiked, under which certain products, milk, curd and paneer, so these were highly talked about in the media when that these were initially not taxed. Milk products were initially exempted category and they were not taxed, but now they have been brought under the 5% tax slab. However, the thing to note is it is for the packed foods, the packed and the packaged and the branded milk if you are buying. However, the loose, the open products, if these are sold unbranded, then they are still under the exempt category. Okay, so these were some that have been brought under the 5% tax slabs. These are the some hotel charging. Initially, the hotels, the low end hotels charging less than 1000 were also under the exempt category. They have also been brought under the taxation GST of 12%. Solar water heaters, the government had been promoting the use of renewable energy and the renewable energy products. So there were initially either not taxed or taxed at the lowest rates of 5%, which solar water heaters is one of them that have moved to the 12% category, right? So this is there, and as I was mentioning, the GST will remain exempted for unpacked, unlabeled and unbranded goods, right? So now coming to my question that I had asked you initially, that why has the government increased when we are facing inflation and low growth? Then in that case, why has the government gone and increased GST rates, which will increase the prices of the products further, especially of a lot of eateries which people eat on a daily basis, like milk products have been there, wheat and muslin flour, jaggery, puffed rice, organic food. So all these they have brought under GST. Even unpacked foods of rice and wheat, when packed and bank fee for issuing, they have been brought under GST. So the answer or the rationale that has been given by the government, one is that although they are looking that they have increased, however, they have actually tried to correct the inverted duty structure. So we now know what we mean by inverted duty structure. So the government has said that actually a lot of these products were under the inverted duty structure, which was not the correct way of taxing, where the inputs are being taxed at a higher rate while the end product was as a lower rate, and therefore it was felt that there is a lower tax on the final product, but they were actually giving indirectly, they were being giving GST through the inputs. So we have actually corrected and we have tried to correct that inverted duty structure, so the end result on the consumer will be minimal. That is the first thing that has been mentioned. And the second is that the poor people or the common people will be less impacted, because a lot of unpacked, so the GST has actually been brought on the packaged and the branded products of daily use. However, the loose and the unpacked, which the poor and the common people rely on more, continues to be exempted or not taxed under GST. So these are the two. However, it will be seen going forward from the GST collections that the government makes in this month and the following months, which will indicate how the GST rates have actually impacted or not impacted the common people, or has it led to an increase in the inflation, because inflation is not just happening because of the GST rates, it has been there because of other factors. So yes, so it's not, Vijay, it's not really to control inflation. It is an independent decision that has been made to rationalize and improve the GST structure overall in the country, out of the learnings made over the last 5 years by the government of the implementation of GST. So a lot of things will come out in future also related to GST. We should continue to remain aware. Some of the very common points I have discussed here. I have shown a list of actually the GST compensation which the states have got over the last 5 years, which has now complete as a part of the promise under GST introduction that was made to the states. So all the states and some of the union territories, the important ones like Delhi, Puducherry, J&K, so that's why it adds up to 31. They have over the years of the last 5 years got the GST compensation here. So these figures you don't really need to remember, but it's a factual information that you can make sense out of what the government had promised and it has given under GST to the various states. So that's all for today's session. I hope it helped you to understand some rationale behind the GST and one of the most important indirect tax which exists now in our country. At iExamB, we try to unfold your potential by such knowledge sessions. So keep participating, keep visiting iExamB for a lot of knowledge-based information in the form of BPedia, in the form of daily quizzes, in the form of weekend gupshup that we keep doing on our YouTube channels and on our website. Keep participating, keep learning. And as of now, we are running the monsoon sale. I hope a lot of you are enjoying the good monsoon, and at iExamB we make it better for you by offering a flat 47% on all the courses available at iExamB. You can use the coupon code B47. It could be RBI, NABARD, Coal India, SEBI, ECGC, SBI PO, IBPS PO, a lot of courses are available on our website. You can go check the free demo, attempt the free mock test and see how these can help you prepare 50% faster to crack your exams. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon. Wishing you a very good day. Thanks everybody for joining in.